Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving Podcast. And with me today, I have Eli Bentz, aka Dispatch Assassin, as he's known in the dispatch, broker, and carrier circles over the past 15 years. How you doing today, Eli?
I'm great, man.
Good, good,
Excited.
good. Good to have you.
Thank you. Likewise, excited about the season finally being over.
Well, it depends on what you're looking for, I guess, right? So now let me ask you this, Eli. So today, well, as I was saying earlier, today we're going to talk a lot about brokers, carriers, dispatching, carriers wanting to go on their own, away from the brokers, and much, much, much more. So, Eli, how did you get into the moving industry?
Moved down to South Florida and filled with phone rooms. So I started out in sales originally, pitching the same pitch over and over. On the side, I was working as a foreman for a local moving company. So I was doing sales by day, and on weekends I was doing local jobs, local pickups until I decided to start my own local moving company. Got a few trucks. I was doing local moves, and I go from there.
Okay, so what brought you over to the broker side? Because you did own a brokerage for a little bit.
Right. I came back into the industry, after my divorce. I came back into the industry. I had an opportunity to jump in a truck and go long distance as a helper and as a foreman. Came back, went back to the brokering, went back to do sales, and then noticed that it was a new company that they did not have any carriers signed up. So I kind of started cold calling carriers and brought us up from 13 carriers to 96 carriers within a couple of weeks span. I got promoted from sales. I got took out of sales and they promoted me to they had a dispatch, had a customer service. So I was taking care of operations logistics. Did that for a while and started talking to my boss about splitting up, about opening up my own brokerage. He said, "Listen, I could either consult you or we could go partners." And at which point I started. He gave me permission to hire, people and train them at our current brokerage where I was the manager. And that's kind of what kept me in the brokering world. So I already knew at that point, I knew what goes on the road, which kind of made me indispensable because I could always get on the phone with the foreman and kind of set him straight if he was trying to cheat a customer or if he wasn't doing something correctly. So I was kind of the inside man because I knew what went on the outside, on the road, having have been a foreman. I knew how the sales, or how the sales happen. What goes on, what gets pitched, what gets said. So pretty much already at that point, I knew every aspect of the industry. From the outside, from the carrier point of view, and from the broker carrier. So that's what made me kind of, I think, indispensable, as far as, being inside the brokerage. I already knew how to price jobs correctly, and so there will be no issues in the future.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. So now you're going from the brokerage side to the carrier side. So what's making you leave the broker side?
Because, in my opinion, a carrier could survive without a broker. This is a moving industry. Being a carrier is something tangible. You have trucks. You actually service the jobs. A broker cannot survive without a carrier. You know, now there's I've noticed a shift going on. A lot of carriers, rely on brokers to get them jobs, right? Brokers are taking advantage of that. Obviously, their deposits are growing. They're getting out of line with the kickbacks. They're demanding kickbacks. So, all of that is taking a toll on the carriers because they have to go there and bump jobs in order to cover their costs. Brokers are demanding kickbacks now, in order to keep you signed. obviously all that gets taken out on the customer. Customers get pissed off. So more and more jobs are problematic. Customers do not like getting raped, obviously. So they are starting to backfire. So, when the job backfires, there's an on-site issues. So that's kind of what made me move away. You know what I mean? I would rather be a carrier providing the move, you know what I mean? Because in the future, I could always, step away from the brokers and book my own jobs. As far as the brokerage goes, uh, if they keep getting out of line, they're gonna start losing carriers, which is already what's happening. They're gonna stay with the grimy ones that don't mind bumping these jobs and raping the customers, and eventually it's gonna backfire on the brokers. And some of them realize it, some of them don't. But I think we're moving slowly but surely. We're moving away from brokering to carriers booking their own jobs, carriers using people like you, Yuri, and using, booking agents. So that's kind of my take on it.
Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video.
Right. And one of the big things you got to remember, if you're currently a carrier and you're picking up jobs from a broker, here's what you got to realize. Brokers spend an obscene amount of money on advertising. I sat down with one of the more known brokers. I'm not going to mention names, but I sat down with them a couple of years ago, and they had a budget to the tune of about $100K that they were spending on advertising every week. Most carriers, most moving companies cannot afford to have that kind of spending budget, at least not initially when they're trying to grow and to get to a certain point. Maybe down the road when they have a lot of money that they're taking home, not bringing in, taking home. And I stress that because there's a big difference between what's coming into the company versus what you get to take home after your expenses. A lot of people harp on net, but net means nothing. What means is what do you get to take home? That's the important number. Because if you compare, for example, companies that are based in California, which have more expenses for warehousing, more expenses for trucks, more expenses for insurances, more expenses for movers, materials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that company could be bringing in 20 million, for example. And then you can have a company that's based somewhere in rural Louisiana, for example, where their warehousing is like a tenth of what it is in California, potentially. And they might be bringing in $10 million or $5 million, but they might be taking home more money than the company that's based in California that's bringing in 20. So it's the take home that's the important number, not the net. Okay. So that's what you always want to look at as a moving company in general and as somebody that's coming into the industry. The other big thing is this. So you guys don't have the advertising. So if you are working with the brokers and you have a thought in your head that down the road you want to be separate from the brokers and you want to do your own thing, you need to start thinking about that today. What does that mean? That means that whenever you're doing your own side jobs or whenever you do jobs for the brokers, you want to make sure that if the people that you're doing that delivery for, if they're happy with your specific service, you want them to leave a review specifically for you on Google, Better Business Bureau, Yelp, whatever. Start building that today before you make the shift away from broker, because
I like that.
this is what I see all the time personally. As somebody that works with moving companies, as somebody that at this point we are the longest running, most experienced moving company call center in the United States. That is true today, especially with OneQ going down. They were the oldest prior to us. Okay, now with that situation happening, I can tell you 100%. I have a lot of carriers that come to my way that are used to working with brokers. They come to me, they talk to me, they tell me they want to do long distance. Okay, well, here's the reality. And this is something that I say to every company that does this. And reality is this. If you want to do long distance, you need to have online presence. Because if Eli is the customer, right? I'm the company. And Eli is trying to move from Florida to California. Eli is not just going to trust my great price or what I, as a sales rep, sells. He's going to look me up online. And what is he going to find if I just came off a broker? If you don't do what I'm suggesting, he's going to find absolutely nothing. He's not going to find a presence. He's not going to find Google reviews. He's not going to find Better Business Bureau, probably, because a lot of these companies don't even have a profile. I'm not saying become accredited. That's your call, of course.
Yes, or have fake reviews, or pay for fake reviews. So you're not
right, but
really
fake reviews, that's the thing of the past. Realistically, today it's the thing of the past. It's something that worked 10, 15 years ago. It's not something that works today because Google specifically has been vigilant when it comes to knocking out fake reviews. So they actually go and they actually verify all these reviews. And if they find that the majority of them or a good portion of them are fake, you're going to get banned. And if you're going to get banned, you're going to have a very hard time reinstating your stuff. It's going to affect your visibility. It's going to affect a lot of things. So buying reviews right now, frankly, you're wasting your money and you're hurting yourself in the process. So not only are you wasting money, you're hurting yourself.
Here's the thing. You're absolutely correct. All the new moving companies, right? Well, I wouldn't even suggest becoming a carrier right now. It is the end of the season, but all the new moving companies, unfortunately, still rely on brokers, like because of what you said. No online presence. So this is where the problem starts, right? So you're a new company. You want to establish yourself. You want to build a brand. You want to establish yourself as an honest company with integrity, right? Now you're running into a problem because of the way the brokers are pricing jobs. That leaves you not a lot of money. The only way to get in with the broker right now is to have money, is to pay what they call a deposit, a sign up deposit. You give them 3, 5 grand, whatever number they pull out their ass, and after that, kickbacks. So in order for you to be able to afford that, you have to raise prices, you have to bump the jobs, which right there give you bad reviews. So I do tell my guys the same thing that you said at the end of each job. Be professional, be courteous, be polite. At the end of each move, ask the customer to leave you a 30-second review. How do we do? Build a portfolio. Have a little file full of like 30, 40 reviews. That right there, like Yuri said, in the future will help you put that on your, testimonials on your own website when you decide to move forward and create your own online presence. So in the future, that will work for you. Also, what that does for you, collecting those little good reviews helps you get in the door with a lot of brokers. I send them an email. I send them an email with all of my good reviews. Say, hey, take a look at us in the past 3 months. These are, even though we were bumping jobs, to get a good review when you're raising the price is pretty impossible. When you're telling the customer that your move is going to cost a lot more, and after that you're asking them to leave you a good review, that's pretty hard. So you see where that cycle, you know what I mean? So if you want to start out the gate being a good, honest, reliable company, but you don't have money, you know what I mean, for advertisement, you unfortunately have to turn to brokers and become a dishonest company. Because if you're gonna try to maintain your integrity, you just can't. You know what I mean? It's not gonna pay your bills. You're gonna be out of business. So you have to make a choice. Am I gonna be dishonest and go with the brokers? Am I gonna borrow some money?
The other problem too is, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the other problem too is that it's not necessarily that you as the carrier are being dishonest. It's the fact that the brokers, and let's be honest about that, and it's the same thing that I tell a customer of any specific moving company that I work for whenever we're comparing pricing to brokers. Reality of brokers is this: their job is to book, and then take their 20, 30, 40, whatever percent the deposit is. That's the broker's money. So you, the carrier, are often in a situation where you get to a job you're already technically out that 40% or whatever, and you have to make that money back somehow in order for you
I
to be
understand the
profitable.
but the thing is, the overhead of a broker, and across state lines, I've opened up a brokerage before. The overhead of a broker is buying leads, paying salaries, whatever
Mhm,
commission.
mhm.
I know what the overhead of a broker entails, right? So how fair is it that you keep a person on the phone with your overhead for 10, 15 minutes, you get an inaccurate inventory, you shave off some cubes, bait them in, reel
Mhm.
them in, and then leave us less than half
But that's
without
exactly
overhead
what
of
I'm talking
raising,
about.
truck insurance, registering your United Carrier registration, maintaining your DOT, your MC, your liability, your cargo insurance. We have a lot more overhead. So
Right.
for a broker to take 43%, then raise it to 50%, then raise it to 53%, and then demand kickbacks at the end of the move, and then demand a part of the bump, that's just greed. To me, that's
Right,
greed.
but that's exactly what I'm talking. What I'm saying is that
Right.
when the carrier gets to the job, it's not the carrier that's being dishonest. This is where I'm getting at. Okay, that
And
is not
people
the
think it is the
carrier being
carrier.
dishonest. It's the fact that the broker gave a lowball price to the customer. He gave him a price
Real man.
based on, for example, 500 cubes. You, as the carrier,
Mm-hmm.
get there to pick up a job. The job is
And it's a thousand.
1,500 cubes.
Right. Had that.
And you're forced to raise it because, of course, you can't take it for a 500 cubic foot price because you're going to lose money. You're not going to make money. So it's not about you being forced to be dishonest. You're not the one that's being dishonest. You have to do the work, and the customer has to pay
Correct.
for the total of the
Correct.
job. The problem is the initial estimate, which is way off in the first place. And when the broker's booking it, they know they take that 40-50% and put it in their pocket, but they
Of
don't. At
course.
the end of the day, they don't care what you have to deal with on the day of the move.
Exactly.
Ultimately, no matter
Exactly. And then
how
they say, "Why are you
honest and
raping
how
my customer?"
reliable.
And
Right.
then they say, "Why are you raping my customer?" They call my foreman while we're on site, and they're asking me, "Why are you raping my customer?" I said, "Because you already raped the customer. We're just having a sloppy seconds."
Yeah,
You know.
you misquoted. That's the bottom line. That's the
Right.
problem that we deal with brokers. But getting back to what I was saying about carriers, if you guys down the road in the beginning, okay, you have to work with brokers, right? Because you're trying to get your stuff up. You have to do long distance. You don't have the advertising budget, right? Down the road, you need to build that Google. You need to build that profile. You need to build that online presence because otherwise, here's my suggestion. Carrier comes to me and says, I've been in the broker world. Here's my DOT number. I look up their DOT number. I look up the company. I find no Google reviews. I find no Better Business Bureau profile. I find nothing. In a regular consumer world, this company does not exist because there's nothing to find. Okay. So at that point, my recommendation is this: you need to do local jobs. You need to do local jobs to start off. The reason you do is because local jobs, the thought process of those customers is simple. I'm following the truck in my car. If something goes bad, I call the cops. Long
Not
distance,
a
they're
price.
putting right, long
They price
distance, they're
different.
putting their entire life in your truck. If they're
Mhm.
putting their entire life in your truck, they're going to be a lot more careful
You
about who
have
they
to remember
choose.
what people have to remember is in order to do local moves, they have to check on FMCSA, check with their DOT agent, and make
Mhm.
sure that that state allows you to do local moves.
Right.
Because just because I have a federal DOT and MC number does not mean I could do a local Texas to Texas. Does not mean I could do a local Illinois to Illinois. Those are separate local
Right, of
DOTs
course, of course. But what I'm
those are
talking
local
about,
transit numbers.
if you haven't built up yourself to have that Google profile, when you're ready for that broker separation, right? When you're ready to cut the umbilical cord, right? If you don't have that, you have to build up your Google and you have to build up your internet profile and you have to build up your visibility from
Online presence
scratch,
is very
from
important.
zero.
From
The
scratch.
fastest way to do that is
It takes
local
a good
jobs,
move.
unfortunately. The fastest.
And it takes good like what 3 to 6 months to get yourself up there with
Yeah.
Google,
Yep.
you know.
Exactly.
So and then so one way of getting your jobs is through the brokers. Another way of getting your jobs is I mean I have guys going on freaking Craigslist and just calling people, cold calling them and closing their own jobs. A third way of like you said, setting up your own, online presence and trying to funnel your own leads through AI or however generate your own leads or buying your own leads. And you know, we were talking about buying leads. You said, you know, we get quality leads. Some people don't get quality leads. My take on leads is this. You know, if I paid $8 grand in kickbacks, you know, for trash ass jobs, right? That 8 grand could have went into leads. Problem with that is finding a good sales rep. They're gonna stay on top of that. Now buying leads is you could buy $100 lead or you can buy a $15 lead, right? And I used to think that the more expensive the lead is, the better the lead. Now, just because that one person goes on one website where those leads are considered exclusive, and you turn around and as a lead generator, you sell me that lead for $100. That same person went on a different website, filled out the same form, and that lead got sold to 70 different brokers, and that lead just dropped in value. That became a $15 lead. Through one website, it's a $100 lead. Through another website. So would I rather like 10 leads for $1,000, you know, and only get 10 shots, you know what I mean? And God knows how many out of those 10 gonna answer the phone, or would I rather buy 100 leads and maybe get 10 people the first day, do some follow-ups the next day, maybe get 10 more?
But that's
I
see
get
though, but that's also questionable because the thing is this: exclusive leads are exclusive leads. If they're direct connecting you, they're direct connecting you. If they're directing you, if you got the person on the phone, you have the opportunity to close them right there and there, right? So
That's true.
it's also you
I
gotta
also
look at that. It's not always gonna it's not always created equal.
I believe right. I believe in doing a healthy split. You do a little bit of these, a little bit of the cheap ones, and a little bit of the expensive ones, the primary ones. You got the primary ones, you got the secondary. It's good to mix them up, and it's you
It's good
saving
to
yourself money.
diversify. Yeah, absolutely. It's good to diversify
Right.
because you can't like focusing on one source is not always a good idea.
Oh no
But
no
the
no
other
no
thing
no.
is you gotta at the end of the day, what you want, what everybody wants, are organic leads.
Right.
That's the end of the day, and
Right.
organic leads today. That's all
The goal,
100% social media.
the goal of the day is to get away from the brokers. That should be everyone's goal right now. You know what I mean? Whether you start up your own sales team, if you're good enough and you know how to manage a crew on the road and the office, but a lot of people are good movers, but they're just not good salespeople. You know what I mean?
Well,
You
that's why
know
we
how to
exist in the
go.
first place.
That's why people like Yuri exist, right? Booking agents, hire your own sales, hire Yuri. You know, if you, well, you need to get to Yuri's level to get to hire Yuri. You need to have online presence. But yeah, very important, you know. And the brokers are feeling they're feeling that shift. They're feeling, you know, that they're losing good carriers because the self-respecting carriers are gonna tell a broker, no, I'm not paying you kickbacks.
Well, the
And
broker can't claim to be a moving company anymore.
right,
That's becoming very quickly punishable by law.
right. So that's pretty much we're trying to shift away. We're trying to shift away. At least that's my goal for the next season is to start shifting away. It's risk. You know, it's scary to dump your money into leads and not know whether they're gonna close or not. But um, you know, I think it's gonna be a lot better return from trying it. You know, if you don't risk it, you don't drink champagne. Those who don't risk don't drink champagne. That's kind of how I look at it. You know, if you're not gonna risk, if you're not gonna try, you're not gonna find out. You know, you can continue getting, and that's the thing with the brokers. They're gonna continue. It's only gonna get worse. You know, it's only gonna get worse. They're up to asking 10% kickbacks. They're gonna next season. You know, if we're gonna let them get away with it, they're gonna next season they're gonna be asking for 15 and 20, and next thing you know, you're not gonna be left with anything for the job. So
Yeah, it's that part. It's the fact that lead providers' quality is going through the floor, and they want more and more and more. I mean, everybody wants that. What I find interesting. So the other thing too is that I've talked to a lot of moving companies. What I find is, at least as far as Russian companies go, Russian speaking companies, Ukrainian speaking companies, Israeli companies, what they have, and a lot of American companies with American owners, not owners that came from other countries before that are in America now. What a lot of you guys are missing out on, like the international. So I call them international, of course, partially in jest because all of them are Americans. at this point, or majority of them are. It's just they have a different background. So when I talk about that, a lot of they have a whole network of owner operators that are running all over the country with these empty dry vans or empty moving vans that are taking moving jobs, whatever jobs they can fit in their truck. They're taking transportation loads. They're doing all that stuff, right? What I find is that network already exists of all these owner operators, and Eli specifically can tell you that because with him having groups on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Telegram, and other places. You got the whole group where you can put it in the chat. Okay, I'm going to have an empty 53-foot trailer in Illinois today. Anybody got anything? You have this type of stuff going on. There's all sorts of load boards that are all over the place. This stuff already exists. Now, the trick, of course, is finding reliable carriers that are not going to gouge those jobs.
You can do an amazing pickup. I can send out an amazing honest crew to do a pickup, and then I'm so desperate to ship it, I ship it with whoever's going in that direction, and that person decides to, do a messy delivery, break half of the shit, charge the customer for, a shuttle fee, try to tag on a shuttle fee. I mean, extort the customer out of a district. So the customer's been extorted by a broker. He was extorted by a crew that picked him up. Now he's being extorted on delivery, So, and that makes the original crew, even if they did a good job, it makes us look bad. So you're absolutely right. Finding reliable.
But of course, we can talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, it is you gotta make sure you do your research on the companies that you work with, and you want to make sure that whoever you partner up with, carriers, brokers, not brokers, whoever you're working with, are just as reliable and care about their brand just as much as you do. You want to align yourself with like people.
Somebody that's delivering a job for you, make sure you take a picture of their driver's license. Make sure you call the owner of their company to make sure that they're working for that company. They're not just giving you someone else's DOT, because it's been going on a lot lately. People showing up at somebody's warehouse, give them random DOT, gets loaded and disappears with people's stuff. Constantly. I see it all the time. So make sure you get the driver's name, a picture of his ID, call his boss, make sure he's actually running under the DOT. So make sure they're in good standing on FMCSA snapshot, make sure their insurance is paid up, make sure DOT is not suspended. So just cover your back. If you're going to use other people to do your deliveries, if you're not doing your own deliveries and you're using other companies, make sure everything, interline agreements filled out, make sure you cover your back.
Right. And of course you have, if you want to be able to do more jobs, if you want to able to have more clients, because reality is this, in a lot of cases, when you do your own deliveries, especially if those deliveries are not to the next state over, if they're, 3,000, 2,000 miles away, in order for you to be able to take those jobs, you need to be able to, you have to work with carrier a lot of times, because otherwise you're pricing yourself out. So you got to look at those things. You got to run the numbers. So at the end of the day, you got to do all that. But once again, Eli, thank you very much for joining me today for the podcast. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk again soon, and we'll make sure we have Eli's information here for you guys to reach out to him.